I covered what I considered were the top 5 escalation contracts in Hitman 2016, a link to which is in the video description. Today it's the worst 5, and here we have some absolute stinkers. Going in no particular order, let's start with the Adrian Eclipse. First of all, let's start off with the kill conditions, which are pistol kills for the first 4 levels before the switch at the end, which I'll cover more of in a moment. Whilst I have nothing against shooting a target in the head, I dislike this escalation's approach to doing this successfully. In my video, I took Pagan Run's approach to this escalation, at least for most of it, and whilst how he achieves the times is excellent, the idea of shooting the 2 targets and no NPC is nearby, see or hear the kills makes it hard to forget you're playing a video game. Even with silenced pistols, how did the guards not see the 2 bodies drop? Moving on, and the sticky pistol complication must be the bane of any player who dislikes having to sneak around when they're more than capable of blending in with their current disguise. Finally, the level 5 complication that swaps the kill conditions renders what you've done before inconsequential and requires you to come up with 2 new kill methods for killing the 2 targets. Unlike in the Caden Compulsion, which I covered in my best escalations list, it is difficult to get to 1 target if he is not eliminated straight away, so speed becomes such a requirement that you can include the sticky gun requirements as well. You spend as much time equipping and unequipping your pistol as you do actually killing the targets. Ultimately, this just feels like an escalation that is designed to have only one way of killing each target, unless you are a really seasoned pro with the game. Otherwise, if you're like me, you're just after drag bodies under a chandelier, create explosions with fire extinguishers, and whilst it is an effective way to complete the escalation, it's certainly not the most fun or enjoyable, so let's move on to number 2. For the Hamartia Compulsion, whilst it starts off promising with a target who is quite easy to eliminate, then follows it up with another target who is quite difficult to kill and move on from, as soon as we get to level 4 things get sticky, quite literally with the pistol again. In an area crowded with NPCs, having to keep your pistol equipped is less of a challenge and more of a migraine inducer. Add in level 5's addition of a rapid elimination streak, and we suddenly have an escalation that is less about taking out 3 targets and more about getting to the exit as quick as possible without getting spotted. An example of my frustrations comes from poison kills, which should be simple but at moments of poor timing, and you can be spotted or fail due to not re-equipping your pistol in time, both causing the mission to fail, or at the very least you lose your silent assassin rank. Perhaps this escalation was designed to be done loud rather than silent, but for me it's one to skip over if you wanted the choice. Third up is the Lupei Sensitivity. The worst bit about this is that but for 1 or 2 points of contention, this could have been in my top 5 escalations. Level 1 starts promising with a kill as the masseuse, which is all too easy to complete, but from level to level it gets gradually worse. From level 2 it comes down to 1 NPC who by all rights shouldn't be a problem. I can only assume that from when the level was released to the present day he's been patched to become more observant, because by all rights he should not see 47 hacking the laptop when he has his head down in his hands, yet each time you try to hack the laptop he spots you. This added difficulty means that instead of killing the target, hacking the laptop and leaving, you have to spend time making this 1 NPC puke so that he isn't a problem for the laptop hack. Adding to this that for levels 3 and 4, there are no pacifications allowed, there are extra cameras with a timer if they spot you, and a new target to keep in mind. Having to make an NPC puke because he can see things that he shouldn't be seeing is annoying. Level 5 redeems this escalation a little by moving the laptop location to a new room where there are more NPCs, but at least they can be manipulated a bit easier. Yet for me, it doesn't do enough to redeem the escalation as a whole from being ranked this poorly. The penultimate entry on this list is the Lyndon Gyration. What seems to be a recurring theme with these selections is that they start off easily, and there are few that are easier than level 1's requirement to kill the PI in Sapienza. Level 2 is annoying due to both targets being spooked when you kill the other, requiring a cooldown of sorts before taking the final target down, but that isn't enough to put this escalation on the list. It's the Super Enforcer's complication that does it here, which is introduced at level 4, placing numerous obstacles between yourself and the targets. It makes navigating the streets of Sapienza a nightmare, rather than the fun experience it usually is. Add in the fact that before this, the private investigator is harder to kill now due to a lack of scooters nearby, and in level 4 a new target is introduced. Finding ways to kill the targets is difficult without risking your silent assassin rating. The final level then tops it off by requiring a bodyguard disguise for 2 of the targets, but leaving in the requirement of a suit kill for the PI. Why have they done that? Whilst the bodyguard disguise is helpful for carrying a gun or remote breaching charges, the need to go back for the suit not only slows down the level, but also means you have to find what by now feels like the 100th way of killing the PI, due to the difficulty of navigating the streets so many times. Whilst it brings out the creative side of Hitman players, it also shows the tedious nature of the escalations, and again, it's one I'd pass on replaying in the future. The final entry on the list is the Zunino Disintegration. Again, Sapienza had some good escalations despite my list not showing it. The trouble though is that they also had some absolute stinkers. Again, this starts well with what must be the quickest kill in the game, where you can exit within 10 seconds of starting the first level if you're quick enough. I took 30 seconds and a longer approach. From there, level 2 introduces a new target and not much difficulty getting them, so at this point it looks promising. But then the priest disguise becomes involved. This alters the route you have to take and also alters the nature of the escalation. What was looking a promising escalation that could have been similar to what the Octopi obliteration would become with targets spread across a map. Instead, we are forced to bring targets closer together due to once again being offered tedious kill conditions. The only way to complete levels 4 and 5 is to use remote breaching charges, as they are the quietest of explosive devices, yet the best way to use them is to subdue targets first, something I despise having to do to complete a level. Had the conditions offered explosions rather than explosive device, it would have been a much more fun and creative escalation, perhaps being capable of being in the group of top escalations. Instead, it ranks at the bottom due to this type of tedium. Thanks for watching. If you believe there are worse escalations than those that I have listed, share them in the comments section. On the other hand, if you agreed with my choices, give this video a like. Why not give it a like anyway and support the channel though? Also, consider subscribing whilst doing this, and you'll receive updates on new videos that I release Monday through to Saturday. This is Josh from JJ's Productions, and until next time, bye for now.